My guest today is the director of Northfield School of Music, musician, composer, conductor, and doctor of musical arts, George Tantchev. His new album includes compositions based on a fusion of Bulgarian folklore rhythms mixed up with Latin and jazz elements. Hi, George. Nice to have you in the studio.
Hi, Stanley. Thanks for having me.
How long did it actually take you to create this new album?
Actually, a long time, because some of the compositions I wrote many, many years ago. And as a tool for presenting Bulgarian rhythms. As I was a student, I was asked constantly to show them what is so unique about these rhythms. So 4 of the pieces demonstrate different rhythms in Bulgarian folk music that exist, like Paidushko Horo in 5/8, Rečenica in 7/8, Dajčevo Horo 9/8, Gankino Horo 11/8.
Are those the most popular ones?
These are the most popular, but there's many, many other Bulgarian rhythms that exist naturally in Bulgaria. These are the easiest ones, or most spread out, let's say. Then the other interesting thing is that they start to combine and they form metric rows. And it's a long topic about the Bulgarian rhythms.
And your album is called Alla Bulgarese.
Alla Bulgarese, it's kind of for 2 reasons. I thought it was a catchy title because...
It is a catchy title, but it's like not quite clear in what language.
Exactly, yeah. Alla, it's like...
There's a French element?
There's a French element
in
from
the beginning?
Like à la mode, like in the style of.
Yeah.
And there's also the other thought that I had was that the Hungarian composer Bela Bartok,
okay,
who was probably one of the last great composers of the last century, was extremely interested in Bulgarian folk music and rhythms. And he was the one who actually coined that rhythm, Bulgarian, as a Bulgarian rhythm in classical music and everywhere else. So in one of his string quartets, I believe it's number 5, the scherzo is called Scherzo alla Bulgarese. And it's more in Italian, so I took that phrase, made it a little French.
What are the reasons that in a small, relatively small geographical area in Eastern Europe you have such a big phenomenon?
It's a very interesting question. I myself did a lot of research. My dissertation is also on Bulgarian rhythms that I wrote. And
how is it called?
It is called asymmetrical rhythms because they are asymmetric. That's what's unique. They're not straight, 1, 2, 1, 2. But they're 1, 2. They have short and long beats there.
Okay.
And some people compare it to ancient Greek poetry, the steps that come from there. But no one really knows. Let me answer.
Is it fair to say that there are many influences affecting I mean, there's that Bulgaria is at the crossroads of different kind of influences.
Probably yes, but because many cultures have gone to the Balkans, you know, as you know, and they still do. We have influence from the east, we have, you know, from the north, we have from the west, we have from the south, from everywhere.
But still, the final result, the end result, is that we have something as unique as as we know, the Bulgarian yogurt.
Yes.
In this specific geographic area.
When I started my research, actually, there was an American, I believe Tim Rice, who wrote a book, and the book is called May It Fill Your Soul. So the music exists there and the rhythms because people who were farmers back in the day, and they were just, music came naturally to them, and they did it for...
Okay, but there were farmers all over the world. Why we have such sophisticated farmers in Bulgaria and less sophisticated farmers elsewhere?
It really it's a mystery. That's why the CD is called The Mystery of Bulgarian Voices, because nobody knows why.
Oh, that's a mystery.
But let me answer in another way. When one of Bartok's students asked him, well, what do you think about this uniqueness of Bulgarian folk music? And why is it so unique? And he said, I'm sorry, I cannot answer your question because I have only looked through 10,000 Bulgarian folk songs.
Oh, that's not a lot.
10,000.
Obviously.
Yes, for him it was not enough to form an opinion.
Yeah.
But that they were unique, that was for sure.
Okay, so are you a morning person? The reason I'm asking this is that two of your compositions...
Yes, thanks for the coffee, Stanley.
Yeah, it's actually water, French water.
French water.
And the reason I'm asking because two of your compositions are called Wake Up and Good Morning.
Yeah, the first one I titled Wake Up back in the day when I wrote it because it just sounded like, you know, something energetic that kind of you need, you know, to get up in the morning. But of course in a rhythm of 1, 2,
But how
3.
important is that specific part of the day for you as a musician?
As a musician,
what happens in the morning?
In the morning, this is the most precious time for us to...
Most productive.
Most productive and precious, because this is the time where you're just more efficient in anything you do.
Okay, describe what are your activities between 8 o'clock in the morning and noon?
Well, I get up in the morning,
Yeah.
have a coffee,
Yeah.
and then I start working,
Yeah.
which means practicing.
Practicing.
So I practice at least an hour a day piano,
1 hour piano.
1 hour piano. Then, because if you're a composer, you have to know how to use the piano.
Yeah.
It helps a lot.
Yeah.
Of course, there are people who compose in different ways, but I think you have 10 fingers, 10 voices. It's easier. Then, of course, percussion. I have to practice for another hour or two because this is also my specialty.
And from what I can see, you use all kind of different percussion instruments.
Should we demonstrate now or later in the show? But I
you
can tell you that all of these instruments that you see were used in the album that we're presenting.
Let's finish up with what you're doing until now. Okay, you play the piano, you play the.
You're basically
percussion.
keeping yourself in shape.
In shape, and what else? What else do you practice besides percussion and piano?
Piano, percussion. Then I may, no, not may, but I conduct.
How do you conduct at your home when you don't have an orchestra in front of you?
You have to be completely. It has to be quiet.
Okay.
That's rule number 1. Completely quiet.
Is it in front of the mirror?
Sometimes, yes, but first of all, it's in front of the score. So you look at what
in front of the score, or in front of the mirror.
In front of the mirror, yes, because you want to look good. You know,
Yeah.
so you want to rehearse. You know, you don't want to look like you don't know.
Do
what
you usually
you're doing.
like yourself in the mirror while you're conducting?
Me?
Yeah.
I always try to separate myself from myself when I look
Okay.
in the mirror. So I look at myself as the other musicians would see me.
Okay.
So gestures for a conductor should be elegant, you know, that's for sure. You know, facial expression, eye. So these are the things that I would probably look in myself, not.
Okay.
But this is pretty much how the morning starts, and by the time you kind of get yourself in shape, it's already noon. Then you have other tasks to do for the day. And
are they related to music?
they are related to music, yes. Like in the afternoon.
How many hours a day you dedicate to music?
It's hard to tell, but it's pretty much one continuous
process.
It's not even a process, it's a way of life, let's put it this way.
Can you say 8 days a week?
You can, yes.
Like
in the Beatles song?
Like the Beatles song? Are you trying to catch up with Beatles?
No, I'm not. Nobody can catch up with the Beatles.
Or are you more likely trying to catch up with yourself?
Yes, you're trying to, the competition is not with other people, it's with yourself.
Yeah.
To become better, a little bit better today than yesterday. And then the best part for us...
To try your best to be your best version.
Best version of yourself.
Best
it's
version
not
of
even
yourself.
that, it's just working on your talent. Because if you have a talent, if you don't work on it, it's pointless, you're just wasting it.
And how was your flight to Paris?
I think you're referring to the composition that ends the album.
Which is called?
Which is called Flight to Paris.
Okay, and how was it?
And it was great. This is an imaginary flight.
Imaginary flight.
I've been to Paris many times, but by bus.
By bus?
Yes. touring with
that's
other
interesting.
musicians.
You travel to Paris by bus, and your composition is called Flight to Paris.
It is because it sounded French to me, and I wanted it to be like an imaginary flight to Paris, or it can be whatever you want it to be.
When you name a song Bus to Paris, it sounds less intriguing, or?
You know, I never thought of that.
Or it's not too French?
It wasn't even my intention to be.
Yeah.
If I thought of bus, maybe I could have.
Yeah. Okay, but Flight to Paris is a nice name. And I heard this composition, it really sounds French. And this accordion is really French.
It is yes, the way that I never really studied French music. I've listened to it a lot.
Who plays the accordion?
It's in the studio.
Yeah.
You know, we have a lot of French musicians and that's how the album is done. First, everything needs to be composed, written out in a score.
Yeah, but accordion, they use it in many different countries, but the French accordion sounds different. Why is that?
I think it sounds very sentimental. It's what I like, and that's why I decided.
Is it a different instrument or different style of playing?
I think a little bit of both.
Okay.
Yes, because it's not as aggressive as like accordion used in Bulgarian folk music, let's say, or Serbian folk music.
Yeah, I know accordion is very frequently used in Bulgarian folk music. Yeah, and you're Bulgarian yourself. How many percent?
100%.
What I mean is that you live here in Chicago since 2001.
Chicago 2001, but in the States since 1996.
1996. Yes. So what I'm trying to say is that you're Bulgarian American, American citizen.
If that term exists, you know, because I think politically correctly,
it exists. This term exists because
you can't say Polish American or Bulgarian. We are all Americans, of course.
Okay, yeah. But that's what I'm trying to figure out. How many percent you feel American and how many percent you feel Bulgarian?
Well, I grew up in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
Of course, my heritage is Bulgarian. My music sounds Bulgarian. Everybody
I'm
tells
Bulgarian
me that.
myself, but you don't look Bulgarian.
Are you? Are you?
Yeah. You don't. you do not look Bulgarian.
We have to check my DNA results, and then we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. But when strangers approach you, what's their first guess?
First guess in Europe when I go, they think I'm German.
German.
Or maybe Swedish, but German is the first I hear.
But no one ever told you that you're Bulgarian.
No.
Because you don't look Bulgarian.
I don't know what do Bulgarians look like.
I don't know.
Do we know?
I have some idea, but
I think
they definitely do not look Bulgarian.
They're different.
And what do you know about the Bulgarian community in Chicago?
It is growing, definitely.
Yeah.
When we first came to Chicago, there was like one newspaper, which was folded into four. And with one page.
One small newspaper.
One small newspaper, black and white. Now, I think there's three, at least. Three.
There are other media too,
how many pages, full color newspapers, filled with news and other exciting stuff about the Bulgarian community, which is
Any other
growing.
specific achievements that you can point out?
In the community, there's always something going on. Festivals, concerts. I've been invited with my orchestra and my group to perform in June by Mr. Tantchev, the consul, the general consul, at a concert at the Old Town School of Folk Music.
Great.
So there's a lot of interesting things.
Good, a lot of activities.
A lot of activities, yeah.
From what I know, you play you perform different genres, and you spend also a lot of time performing classical music. Why?
Why? Because my roots are in classical music. I was trained as a classical musician, but we also listen to everything else, to jazz, to pop music.
The reason I'm asking is because from commercial point of view, I don't think this is the best genre for you to be like
It is, but
generating
it
some
is,
revenue.
but as musicians, we rarely think about the commercial side of the business, or we don't
Like
think about
creative people.
we work on our art and our talent, and when you
that's
achieve
very
this,
good and it sounds very romantic, but who pays the bills?
pays the bills. It's a
Yeah.
good question.
Yeah.
You do whatever you can.
We live in America, and this is like a country where everybody has a lot of bills. You know?
Of course, and everywhere else, not only here.
I think you're not an exception, no?
I'm not an exception. Bills still come to my mailbox.
Yeah.
I just throw them in the garbage, and that's how I save the,
Wow,
solve the problem.
You have
you should try
You
it.
have a know-how.
But you're true.
Yeah.
What you're saying is true, because I know a lot of my friends who came here, brilliant musicians.
Yeah.
They just quit music immediately.
Because they
Going
couldn't
to-
afford living here.
They cannot afford to pay bills as musicians, and they start doing something else. And
Are you doing something else besides being a musician?
no, I'm one of those stubborn idealists, let's
Wow.
say, who believes that
So you earn your living only as a musician.
only strictly as a musician. In the morning, I work on myself. In the afternoon, I teach lessons, music lessons at the Northfield School of Music. And this is how we make our living.
I think that's a great achievement.
I think it is, because it's very challenging to be a musician. It is achievement also because...
Why is it challenging here? Is it like because of competition, or because people are more focused on material things and less on spiritual things?
I think it's not different than any other Western country.
What about Eastern?
Eastern country, for some reason, Eastern Europe has the best musicians, and that's not a secret.
Bad musicians?
The best.
The best.
The best musicians.
No, I'm not talking about musicians. I'm talking about the audience. Is there any difference between East and West as far as which audience is more spiritual?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
And what's your opinion?
If you get into the material, everybody's trying to make you believe that this is what you work for, to buy stuff, to buy a car, to buy a new house.
But this is the American dream.
Not necessarily. I didn't come here for
That's not
for
your
material
American
thing.
dream?
No. Not that I came here
Okay,
to study.
how would you define your American dream?
My American dream is what I do right now.
Okay.
Sitting on a table with you, presenting my new music
Okay.
to a larger audience.
What are your impressions about the classical music within the last century? Is it any different than the one before that?
It is a continuous process
Yeah.
that we, as musicians, follow a trail, from at least for back, as we know, from medieval music, Palestrina, then classical, then Baroque, then classical, then Romantic music. But it seems to me there's several theories. Now, some people say that Romantic composers, Romantic music, just stopped at the beginning of the 20th century.
Okay.
Other people think that actually Romantic music never stopped developing. It just keeps going, evolved into something else.
And what's your personal opinion?
In my personal opinion is that probably it keeps growing, it keeps developing, keeps changing in different styles. It goes into the new technology, the new...
Okay, if you have to choose last 100 years classical music and before that classical music, which one would you choose?
In the 20th century, let's put it this way, it's not strictly classical, but is what people call minimalistic music or atonal music.
Okay.
And a lot of composers, 99%, fall into that trap. Let me put it this way, because this is a trap that, first of all, you do something. It's very interesting, but can you call it music, or is it just noise?
So, what does it take in order to define a composition as noise?
Not much, but as music, you have to have elements that, to put it in an easier way, I was watching an interview with Ray Charles, the great Ray Charles, and they were asking him about what he thinks about the modern rap music and rap singers, rap music. And he said, it's difficult for me to call it music, you know, because for me, he says, to be music.
It's very popular.
It needs melody, it needs to have harmony, it needs to have form, it needs to have something in order to call it music. And a lot of today's music doesn't have all of these elements. They have only maybe one.
Okay, should there be any rules in composing music?
There are rules, and there should be,
Why?
in my opinion, very strict rules.
Why? I mean, some people might even try to just go the opposite way.
Because musical form, it's like it's like an architecture. It's like you're like an architect.
You mean that you don't follow the rules when you construct a building, when you erect a building, it may
collapse immediately. Yes, which is what 20th century composers do and still continue doing in the 21st century.
So you think that their music is due to collapse?
I think their music, if you call it music, but I think for
a
lot of them,
noise?
I don't know what to call it, but I think it's time to address that issue and to say that the emperor has no clothes.
The emperor has no clothes.
Yes. I mean, especially to composers, because this is what they offer, and when the audience comes, they need to hear something delightful. They don't need to hear continuation of a, you know, if you've been at your office 8 to 5, and then you go to a concert, would you like to hear something more beautiful, or something that will make you angry and will continue the agony of the 8 to 5 day? What do you think?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you something about vibrations in music. Well, how important are those things, and in music and in life? Because you said about something about positive vibrations during a concert.
Yes, music and musical notes, it's vibration. I don't know enough about it.
Is this like, are there any high and low vibrations? Or?
There are, yes, and
which ones are the positive?
The positive are the ones, you know, this is why we should have rules in composition.
Yeah.
Like there are rules that interval is when you have two notes, how far apart are they?
Yeah.
And we know that we have consonant intervals and dissonant intervals.
All right.
And if you follow Palestrina, let's say, polyphony, you know which interval, we have two voices, how to make them sound beautiful and in
following the rules.
Following the rules, following the rules of the universe. Mm-hmm. Let's put it this way. There was something called lambda in ancient Greece, which looks like something like this. Mm-hmm. And they have musical notes and their relation to the cosmic universe. And this was taught in ancient Greece. Trivium is 3 subjects, quadrivium was, I don't forget what, but it was like math, astronomy, something, and music was one of the most important subjects to study.
I think that ancient Greece contributed a lot to.
Yes, of
the
course.
Development of.
Because that's how, when we're talking about vibrations.
Yeah.
Everything is vibration. We vibrate. Our voices vibrate. You know.
Yeah.
Every note. If you have like.
And what is the music of? What is the mission of music to help people get back in balance? Just when they're in extreme state of mind.
Music can make anything. It can make you feel angry. It can calm you down. It can heal you.
Yeah.
It can make you sick.
The music can heal you.
The music can heal definitely, but it can have the opposite effect as well.
Maybe noise can can make you sick.
Yes, noise for sure.
Especially you. And there is such a thing like music fashion, like in clothes and in other areas. So, do you believe in music fashion?
I don't believe in music fashion. If there is a fashion, it comes today, tomorrow it's gone.
Yeah.
So if something has...
You don't want to follow the trend.
If something is here to stay, it should follow what's before that, the rules, and still keep developing. I strongly believe that if composers like Beethoven, Brahms, Wagner were alive today, they all be having their studios always, and working with, technical achievements that we have.
Yeah, they'll use the technical achievements. Yes. That's normal. And what is the intended audience of Alla Bulgarese?
I don't have a...
What is the profile of your listener?
I never had that thought. My hope is that people will hear something that they will like.
No marketing research? No
marketing research at all. No needed. I believe if the product is good, it will find its niche and it will go well.
So you think that when you originate music, you shouldn't be trying to analyze the demands of people?
The more you do it, sometimes, if you start writing music with only intention to make a hit, it's not going to happen.
How are these great singers and musicians nowadays creating hits? What is what do you think is the formula?
There is no formula. Yeah. They have already pre-recorded.
Is it some
tracks.
kind of magic, some kind of luck? What is this?
It's very professional made sound in a studio with professional guys. But to give you an example of the famous singer Rihanna.
Yeah, we all know.
Everybody well know Rihanna.
Yeah.
I read an article how her albums are done,
and
her team hires 20 or 30 of the best songwriters that they know that exist
on the market.
On the market. They hire them for 2 weeks. They put them in a studio with separate rooms, and they write for Rihanna for 2 weeks. At the end of the first week, Rihanna and her producer walk into each room and ask, what do you have for us?
It's like shopping in
a mall. In
a mall,
yes. And they all write they're all hit writers. They write with intention to do something for Rihanna, for her voice, for her style, something that will sell.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, they may spend, I think this is was the case with one of the albums. They spent a lot of money, some ridiculous millions of dollars, like $5 million. And that album wasn't that successful.
So, in other words, you can spend a lot of money, efforts, and time, and you still might not get the...
Very possible.
The desired hit.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, it's very hard to tell how and what makes a hit in that moment.
You brought to the studio a whole bag of tricks here. What is this? I mean, there's so many sticks and instruments.
Let me show you the smaller ones, and then we'll show you the Bulgarian tapan afterwards.
Like the drum.
The drum that
it's called.
It's called a tapan. Tapan.
Which is like Bulgarian word.
It's it's a Bulgarian word. Tapan. It's a large bass drum that we use with a thin switch.
Does it only exist in Bulgaria? I think it's a typical drum.
It exists around in the neighboring countries as well.
Okay.
It exists
on the Balkan Peninsula.
Balkan Peninsula, also, in some other parts, but that takes another research, to find out exactly. But yes, it exists in different varieties, not exactly the same.
Okay, it makes sense. Yeah.
But these are all instruments that have been used by the musicians who recorded my album. This is called the shekere.
These instruments were used while recording the album.
Yes, this one is called. This is Afro-Cuban instrument called the shekere.
Shekere, okay.
And you kind of grab it by the hair here. Let me take a look at it.
Okay.
This is just an egg shaker, like an egg.
I've seen something similar like that, but this is I think it's for the first time.
Here.
Egg shaker.
Egg shaker, very popular. This is called the Arboga bells. It sounds like this.
Latin?
Latin, yes.
Yeah. Is it like cowbell
Right.
or?
It is made of metal. It's not. It's not the cowbell.
Yeah.
Exactly shape. It sounds a little bit like the thin cowbells. But
What was the name? Gogo?
Arboga.
Arboga.
Arboga, African origin.
Oh, that's
Arboga.
African
Yes,
origin.
African origin. This is a slide whistle, of course. We use in ragtimes when we play with my orchestra and some commercial stuff. This is called the claves, Cuban.
Cuban.
Yeah.
Well, I can recognize the sound, but I was not sure how it looks like.
You can try.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. So,
Yeah.
and you have here some sticks.
This is sticks and mallets that the minimum that every percussionist has. This is.
That's the minimum for someone who is.
Oh yes, for who is a percussionist. I also have my
Percussionist.
conducting stick here,
This is the conducting.
which we'll give to one of your. Shall we?
Oh, okay. So
tell the secret.
What is what is the secret?
Secret is, you and your colleagues are going to join me to play a Bulgarian rhythm called Rachenica.
Okay, I hope.
You guys
that,
ready?
I hope that we're not professional musicians, so hopefully
People will be, they'll be forgiving.
Yeah, so they should be forgiving. Can you compare one Bulgarian rhythm to some kind of other popular rhythm that all other people know? And just
it's hard to compare it to popular, but let's say what we have Paidushko Horo. Paidushko, it's like some people may relate to, like it's like a heartbeat, like boom, 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 boom.
Okay.
Boom. And they all consist of short beats which have 2 notes and larger beat that have 3.
Okay.
And you count 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That's the easiest one. So 1, 2.
Let's compare it to some
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2,
popular rhythm that everybody knows. Some kind of.
You can't, because there's not really much folk music yet, or pop music.
I'm not talking about folk music. Let's say waltz or something like that.
If you compare it to waltz is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Rachenica.
What is the difference? Like,
it's all even. 1, 2, 3, 1.
And the other
2,
one is
3.
asymmetrical.
In our Bulgarian rhythm version, Rachenica is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's still in 3,
and
but they're not even.
Why people are more attracted to these Bulgarian rhythms versus this easy and like popular.
People are getting to be more attracted because they still don't know that it exists. They're still discovering.
Okay.
Yes. So when I came and I became a student in Ithaca College and then Oklahoma University, I was constantly asked to do demonstrations on Bulgarian rhythms.
Okay, by experts.
Yes, and their world music teacher, they have a new specialty called world music. And world music and it involves all the cultures of the entire world.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was asked to teach world music, and I said, well, wait, I only know Bulgarian music so well. I've never been to, Pakistan or China. I can't talk. So, but they said, no, you know enough to start. So I started exploring what's going on around Bulgaria.
Okay.
And that's how I found out that some of the rhythms are similar here on the west, some of the rhythm on the north are similar, some of the instruments, but the most variety of all these rhythms exist
only in Bulgaria?
In Bulgaria.
So basically, in other words, you want to say that in Bulgaria there were a lot of different influences from different parts of the world. That Bulgaria is at the crossroads, but still Bulgaria is some kind of unique phenomenon.
It's for some reason unknown, they crystallized in Bulgaria.
It's like this bacteria, you know, the bacteria in the yogurt.
The yogurt bacteria, yes.
Why is this bacteria existing only in geographical area of Bulgaria?
Who knows? Who knows?
That's something similar.
Something very similar.
So there are two unique things, if people like do not know, two unique things that really make Bulgaria outstanding. Bulgarian yogurt and the Bulgarian folklore.
Rhythms and music folklore, yes.
Okay, and let's demonstrate some rhythms before we do this improvised performance.
This is the Bulgarian drum called tapan, and this is, I was lucky enough to have a friend of mine, professional carpenter, who got very interested in manufacturing those drums. So this became the George Tantchev model made right here in the USA. So I'm going to demonstrate using, this is called kiak in my right hand, and my left hand, this is called a thin switch we call prchica. So the rhythm, the first rhythm I'm going to demonstrate is called paidushko horo. It consists of one short and one long beat. Second one is called rachinica, which we will demonstrate in a few minutes with the other co-workers here in the studio. It goes like this. The third one, which also exists in the album, but we kind of changed it a little bit I changed it into a mix of Bulgarian rhythm and Brazilian bossa nova. This is called Dajčevo horo. It has 3 short and 1 long beat. So it goes like this. And then finally, fourth one is called kopanica. It's in 11/8. Musicians know what that means, but basically we have short, short, long, short, short. It goes like this.